Hey Ben,
Hey Ben, huh?
good evening.
How are you?
I'm good, thank you. What about you?
Okay, thanks. Sleepy? How's the jet lag for you? You went really far, right?
Yeah, I'm not sleepy because after this company event, I arrived home extremely tired, so I used my Sunday to recover as much as I could. So yeah, I'm almost fully recharged.
Oh, that must be nice.
Hey, Jason.
Hello. I am,
What
on
was?
the other hand, taking a bit longer to recover from the jet lag. Actually, I'm doing a lot better coming this direction than I did going the other direction. For
Cool,
some
cool.
reason, it took a really long time, like a week, to get over the jet lag the first time, but this time I'm feeling it a lot less.
Hey, Greg.
Hey, Greg.
Well,
Hey,
Hey, Juan.
Han.
hello, how's it going?
Hey.
Good,
Hey,
good.
can you hear me?
Yeah.
Cool.
I think I caught up on sleep last night. Maybe. We'll see tonight.
Did you get a new office, Greg, or is this just a different vantage point?
I rotated.
Yeah.
So I was there and now I'm
Yeah.
here. Yeah. So the window's in front of me, so it puts light on my face instead of like kind of behind me. And
Makes sense.
Can I
Yeah, like me.
ask what is exactly what is in this table, like this collection of
oh,
items, let's say?
yeah, there things like this, or this is a puzzle and you have to like get this little ring off.
Oh, cool, cool.
And so it's just a wall of them.
Yeah.
I've had them since I was kids, and this is the first time that I've really had an opportunity to really display them. I went out and got the big board, and I had the racks already. But yeah,
Yeah, it's a great collection. So yeah, congrats and thank you for sharing.
oh yeah, I've got to figure out how to get all the stuff in my bookshelves because I had originally set up a bookshelf over here like Ben has in the background. I had set up the bookshelf and I put all like collectible kind of things up in there, and now I've rotated and it's off camera. So
Cool.
but the bookshelf fits really well there, so I think I'm gonna leave that there. I'm gonna figure out something else. Maybe I'll just like put shelving on the sides, like attached to the wall. Who knows?
Yeah, looking forward to see the the new versions. Yeah. Okay. So we get started. So we five of us. I think we have a good group to continue with and start with the agenda. So, okay, I'll share my screen. Can you see my screen? Yeah. Okay. Perfect. Let's start reviewing together the meeting etiquette. We are going to record this meeting to share it with the community and also in our YouTube channel. But if someone in this group is against sharing this publicly, just send me a direct message or an email, and I'll take care of no uploading this one to YouTube. Otherwise, this will be live tomorrow. And we encourage everyone to challenge any language or behavior that is harmful, not inclusive, or against our conduct. And finally, when other people is speaking, we'll try to stay on mute and use the Zoom reactions for us to return to speak. And this is the agenda for today. 2 items added by myself, but we are still on time of getting more items added. So if you have something in mind that you like to bring to discussion, just add a comment, edit the issue, or just send me a message in Slack. Any comments so far regarding anything that I didn't start with the agenda? So cool. Usually we start reviewing the action items of the past meeting. However, the past week there was no meeting. I connected, but I was the only person in the room. This is the first time that happened, but I think that it was because bank holiday in the US and other unplanned circumstances. So that's fine. So for the first time in a bunch of Mondays, I was able that week to go to the bed earlier. So yeah, that is it was the benefit for me. But we have the items here, so we can go directly with the agenda. Considering that I'm going to be the one speaking the most, I suggest that we start with the item that Greg just added, if that's okay for you, Greg.
That's fine.
Cool. All yours then.
So I just really wanted to call attention to this. It's been kind of on my mind for the past few weeks. We have historically we've been very focused on validation and annotation of JSON data. But our users have found a multitude of other use cases, primarily code generation and form generation. And the spec is not organized in a way that really helps people who want to formally define those use cases. So I've devised one way that the spec could be reorganized in order to help them do that. Backing up just a little bit, the main frustration for defining those use cases is if you reference core, validation validation specifically is a required feature, which means that any specification that references core but doesn't, and then an implementation doesn't support validation, isn't fully compliant, and that's kind of a hindrance to writing such a specification. So what I want to do is kind of reorganize the spec a little bit and define in core only the features that are necessary to make JSON schema function, whatever that function may be, but kind of just give a framework of how JSON schema operates. And then we can define validation, annotation, and whatever else, code gen, in separate tertiary specifications that then reference core. And that will allow those other specifications to implement core fully, but then only have the feature set that they need for their application. So this is a framework that, instead of fully defining keywords, it defines behaviors, and then a follow-on. So it'll define the core will define the directives, which are the $ keywords, and then it will define the applicability behavior, which is all the applicator keywords, and just defines how subschemas apply to or how subschemas just apply in general, not necessarily to an instance, because like CodeGen doesn't need an instance. And then so you would get all the keywords that have that applicability behavior, and they would only have that behavior. Then you would define a validation spec coming up behind it that would define new validation keywords. It would define what validation is, or what the assertion behavior is. And then it could also take the applicator keywords that are defined in core and attach the validation behavior to those keywords. That's essentially the proposal that I have. I'm open to other proposals. I don't know that I'm 100% sold on this, but it's kind of the best thing that I've figured out. I do later on have a comment. I started a new thread on another possibility, which is we just make validation an optional behavior. But that still means that there's an instance involved and various other things. So I'm interested primarily in looking at solutions to opening up the core spec so that things like CodeGen and FormGen and whatever else can reference and implement that completely, while still not requiring them to have features that that particular application doesn't need. But that's what that discussion is about. Jason and I have had some conversation on there already. Soren has jumped in for whatever that's worth. And I think that's all the discussion that I've had so far. But I would like many more opinions and hopefully many alternatives as well.
Well, I've gotten as far as reading it. I am quite swamped still, so I still wouldn't expect a response for another week. But
Okay.
but I have some thoughts.
Yeah, it was Matthew that I was responding to. Yeah.
One comment from me is that, as I'm reading this, what you explain it, for example, on the proposal section, you're saying the assertion and annotation behaviors are not common to all use cases. But if you think about it, maybe, the assertion behavior, it is kind of implicitly used in those use cases, because, for example, when you're doing CodeGen or you're doing form generation, you are relying on the fact that these keywords have assertions for then constructing what you want to construct, right? Because idea form generator, for example, is just a way of obtaining input for the user that would match those assertions. So you use those assertions, but indirectly, not in the process of validation. I don't know if that makes sense.
I see it as two different operations, though. When you're doing a form gen, you're not implicitly doing any kind of validation because you don't have data that you're validating when you're generating the form.
Yeah.
Later, when the user inputs data, then you can take the same schema and apply validation to it. But at that point, you're no longer doing form gen, you're just doing validation. So I see them as two separate use cases that are commonly put together. Same thing with CodeGen. You can do I use the properties keyword as an example throughout this, and that basically just defines the structure of what you're generating code for, but it doesn't. While the properties keyword does provide validation, you're not using any of the validation stuff. You're just using the properties keyword for structure. You're saying,
well, but that structure is some. I mean, you're relying like properties. Adding that structure, it's a way of I guess conveying an assertion. Even though you're not running the assertion directly, you're constructing something that would match that assertion, right? But I agree that it's at two different levels, but it gets confusing, right? When you say assertion as a name, I guess.
Right. So I see the assertion and the structure as two separate, just like with the form gen, they're two separate aspects of what properties does. Properties does give you structure in saying that if you're working with an object, it needs these properties and these subschemas apply to those properties. Separately, it also says if all the properties are valid, then then properties produces a true assertion output.
So let me give you an example of where this gets a little muddy. Imagine like an if condition. So like say if the user selects the type fruit, then there's an extra field that needs to show up to let them select which fruit that they want. So in that case, it's like the assertion is part of how the form is generated.
Right. So I had considered that in the rant that I had in another thread, and I can post a comment to that. I ended up hiding it. Let me go find that real quick.
So while you find it, I think, another reason why I find Jason's example, very relevant is I think another use case that I think it has been me that has been working on that the most, both with my dissertation and JSON bin pack and data serialization. That's another type of use case, because I'm not, I guess, evaluating JSON schema per se, but it's a lot closer to, say, form generation, where I'm getting a schema and I'm deriving an encoding plan for that data. And the problem that Jason is talking about is present in JSON bin pack as well, because again, for example, for the if condition, if you're running an any of or like one of or something like that, you might need to do a schema evaluation in between, and that's where it gets muddy.
Right. So I pasted a link to my comment in there, and in all of that, I do actually separate out the if then else keywords into yet another. I don't include them in core. I include them in a tertiary specification, because they do rely on that validation behavior. So it would have to reference the validation spec in order to operate. So that is kind of one of the things that I recognize as making this, as Jason put it, muddy, and why I'm not completely sold on it. But I don't really know what else to do with it. I would like something that's something that does separate out that validation behavior, because not everything needs the validation behavior, and the validation does require it does require an instance, and you don't, like in generation scenarios, you don't have an instance. So I'm struggling to come up with a really good solution for this that makes sense, but I feel like we need one.
I think the separating aspect is very appealing. When you as you're trying to separate a lot of these keywords, maybe as different vocabularies, because they do different things, like you said with the logical keywords, if then else or something like that. I feel like that's a key, right? Because even when you're talking about specific use cases, not all of the use cases use all of the keywords from different vocabularies, or it makes sense at all. For example, in form generation, in which case would you want to do a form or generate a form based on pattern properties? As a silly example, it might not make a lot of sense in that context at all, and maybe leaving that off of the vocabulary that it's quote unquote implemented for form generation would make more sense.
Yeah, that kind of goes towards one of Jason's ideas, where vocabularies, and he hints this in the thread that I posted in the chat, where we maybe don't have formal vocabularies for the default set of keywords, but we create vocabularies kind of as a container, so that other people can mix and match keywords and group them and say this schema requires this group or recognizes this group of keywords, but doesn't recognize any others. And that can include keywords from our spec, keywords from other specs, etc. It's still something that I'm open to, but Yeah, I'm not sure. But really, I just wanted to call attention to this discussion about supporting supporting other these other use cases, and just kind of seeing, excuse me, seeing who else wants or who else has ideas around how to do this.
I was going to wait till I thought about how I want to articulate this, but maybe I'll try. One of the sticking points that I'm having with this is that I don't see how applicators is a behavior. So I think that's what I'm so without that understanding of applicators being a behavior, I'm having a hard time seeing how this proposal works. Because like I guess the way like I guess think of like the validation behavior is, you know, you evaluate each keyword and the result, and that's the validation result. Like that's a behavior. But I don't know, I don't see how application in general by itself is a behavior that we can define.
It's really about the fact that the keyword defines subschemas, and that those subschemas can then be applied somehow. That's really all that is. Like, so all love means that it takes all the subschemas and then applies those subschemas to just the general context, whereas properties takes its subschemas and applies them to specific children of the general context, and whatever that context is. That context could be code that you're generating, or it could be an instance that you're evaluating, or whatever. So I think it's that very abstract concept of how you take subschemas and apply them. That would be the behavior that I'm talking about there. And it's, I can see how you might question that as a behavior specifically, rather than just a property of keywords that define subschemas. But I think, yeah, I'm not sure, because not all keywords describe subschemas. So
yeah, well, I can see, yeah, I see this as like a, you know, general principle that JSON schema is recursive. Like a keyword may define subschemas. But then how, like what's done with those subschemas, like how they're applied, I guess that's the part we want to be abstract, but that's not really behavior, and I'm not really sure how that can be generalized.
well, maybe that's the key. Maybe it's just a definition of recursion, or of a recursive process, and then you say a keyword may define subschemas, and then it describe the keywords that do define subschemas describe how those subschemas are applied.
Yeah, that would make sense to me.
Okay.
Ben, you raise your hand.
Yeah, I mean, I think in terms of trying to understand how, you know, listening to this conversation and about how you abstractly think about JSON schema and applicability, it could be similar to the concept that I know of, at least in Perl, of auto vivification, where the data structure is or like the notion of a data structure is automatically constructed. C, like being able to generate I mean, we do already, like people generate sample data from schemas, but you could generate an abstract syntax tree, which at least has all of the possible pathways that, or has to an extent, has the possible pathways that a JSON schema expresses. There might be some complications when you start thinking about how you might handle recursion in that, but yeah, I could see how you could take a JSON schema around and have that intermediary step of here's a notion of the thing which is represented by that JSON schema without actually having an instance.
That's an interesting thought. I'll have to think about that more.
Anyway, I just wanted to bring the conversation a little bit more forward and see if we can get more people to comment on it.
Cool. Thanks. And thanks everyone for sharing your thoughts. The discussion is there, so please, if you have more time during the week, take a look. I'm going to share my screen again to see what else we have. Okay, there are two more items added by myself. The first one is the issue 330 in the website regarding being able to have previews not only in branches but also in fork pull request. As of now, when a new pull request is open, let me show you how this works from a branch. We have an out of the books feature from Cloudflare pages that basically provides you a preview URL that is very helpful for doing more efficient pull requests, at least for me and probably for others, right? But this is only working for pull requests coming from branches like this one. If the pull request is coming from a fork, like most of the contributions, the out-of-the-box integration of Cloudflare is not providing any preview. We have been doing some research, and Alok, that is the person that is working in the CCD project for Google Assembly of Code, came up with a solution that works, but it will require changing the out-of-the-box integration. The one that we saw working for branches, we will need to disable it and go with our custom solution. And nobody joined the issue, providing feedback. And basically, what I would like to check with everyone here is what are your first thoughts of with a proposal like this one? Basically, Alok did a good research, seeing how this is handled in other relevant repositories, and most of them came up with this similar approach of disabling the out-of-the-box integration and doing this customization. What I ask Alok is if we receive positive feedback from the community, is make sure that there is a clear process to do a rollback if that's needed. So disable whatever is the customization and go back to the out-of-the-box integration. So yeah, this is if someone has something to share right now, I will love to get that feedback. If you don't have anything to share right now, please take a look to the issue when you have time and give us some feedback.
I had originally raised this issue just because at the time, a lot of people were tagging me in the website repo, and I couldn't follow along what's going on in the code because I'm not a web developer, and I view websites as a user more than as a developer. So I personally have no opinion on how these or how it actually gets done, as long as it's as long as it works. So if this person has gone through and done research on how others are doing it, and seems to be a common approach, then I figure it's probably good enough for us as well.
I'm not sure how well maintained the GitHub action is that's been proposed that we use. It doesn't seem to have any documentation. And there seem to be other GitHub actions that we could possibly use. The GitHub actions, I mean, like actions from the marketplace already. So I think that's at least worth looking into. But yeah, I'll provide some feedback on the issue itself.
Thanks. To be honest, I didn't realize that the documentation of the GitHub action, I mean, basically there is no documentation at all. So yeah, if at least we are open to disable that out-of-the-box capability of Cloudflare and proceed with this workflow, but with a better maintained GitHub action, yeah, we'll proceed. So I have a meeting with the weekly meeting with Alok this morning, reviewing the progress of the project, and I'll check with him tomorrow to see if we have better options in terms of other workflows with better support and documentation. Yeah. Cool.
But I bet that I mean, it might be worth studying also what the GitHub action does, or that one, or whatever we find, because they might be using the Cloudflare CLI or be calling some APIs from Cloudflare, and might not be very hard to reproduce at all. And then if so, maybe that's like a short snippet on our own GitHub action, so we can maintain it with a lot more clarity and
Yeah.
transparency over what it does.
Yeah, that's a good feedback as well. So I'll discuss both aspects with him. So first, understand what the GitHub action is doing, because maybe it's worth just doing our own implementation. And secondly, do some research to see what other options we have and proceed with the best of both. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just coming back to a comment I made previously on one of the issues. I think one is probably right. We probably don't need to use a marketplace action to do this. There's a guide on how to use the direct uploads with continuous integration, which is what we need to do. We just need to, as part of the options that get sent, set it to use preview. And then we could leave the out of the box integration alone, and the GitHub action would just be for previews. I'll find that link and share that as well.
Great, thanks. Yeah.
Also, one final note, sorry, but Ben just gave me an idea, because I think, I mean, if I understand correctly, we're doing one integration with Cloudflare that is doing it out of the box, but then that doesn't work for the forks. And then we were thinking about revamping the entire way of doing previews to accommodate both. But also GitHub Actions lets you be very precise about what triggers a specific workflow. So you might be able to even keep the existing one, properly integrated with Cloudflare pages, and then have one specific action that will only trigger on forks. And then for only that one, you do something a bit more custom, and then you can leave everything else on the happy path. That might be nicer.
This is the good thing of having meetings with senior architects, just 5 in the same room, and CTOs and stuff. So thanks. The last one is also a good one. So probably what we will end doing is keep the out-of-the-box one, because I think that I like to keep the things that work perfectly and out of the box. Why not change it and explore the fork path? And as Ben said, like try to understand what is the workflow implementing and do our own. And probably if at some point Cloudflare improves or provides full coverage, the step to use the out of the box one will be much easier. So if we keep both, so yeah, we will keep everyone update in GitHub and probably setting something in Slack now that we discussed the topic. Thanks. Cool. Any other comment before jumping to the next topic? Okay, and the last topic is something that was in my pending task for the last weeks. In April, so we have a discussion regarding a proposal that I made to start having an additional community meeting just for updates. That is not going to, and in that session, I received great feedback like the office hours are working, and that's true. So it's working for solving real issues from individuals or companies adopting JSON schema. So instead of just changing that scope, we are going to keep it. I will find a moment to launch the new community meetings because that's needed, but I will need to just prepare myself to provide quality meetings of that side. But the goal of what I'd like to discuss with all of you is, okay, what we discussed in that meeting was will be great having office hours with different friendly for different time zones. As of now, we have one single office hour session that is first Tuesday of the month at 3 p.m. London time, if I'm not mistaken. Is basically tomorrow, and someone connecting from the US might do it, but like forcing a little bit with the timing, and it's not the best for folks in Asia, right? And the solution that we came with is doing it bi-monthly, and one with Asia and America's friendly time zones, and another one with the Europe time zone. And Europe and Americas, I mean, the people from America can choose what works for them, but this can also give the opportunity for others to lead the session or take like make a step forward, like and we have some people like interested in this. So my final, so what I need is, okay, folks, do we need to make a voting process for this or something, or because I have 2 thumbs up here, so my doubt is, do we need the voting process for this, or is that okay, just proceed and doing it?
I say let's just proceed.
Yeah, I mean, I can't think why anybody would object to this. It's not like it's gonna cause any problems for anyone. So
Exactly.
yeah, sounds good to me.
If we start doing it and it's not working, so we can just go back to the previous approach. But I think that is, I will take care of sharing the benefits of this. So more opportunities to everyone, more diverse community, more faces, opportunities to get to know more people and discover and more adopters, right? So its benefits are a lot. So I will take care of the comms, and probably this will start in the next month. So yeah, thank you. It was easy. And that's all from my side. Regarding the voting process, just something I like to share. A log that is the contributor, JSON contributor that is improving the CCD stuff in the website, found a great workflow that is being used by Async API team to automatize the voting process. Basically, when we are following our voting process, we are doing this manually. So the person that started the discussion is creating an opening comment, and when the voting is done, is collecting the result and sharing the final stuff. And with this widget option, we can just use a comment in the issue to automatize all those things. So the voting process will stay as it is, and we will have improved development experience to make it work better. So for the people, I mean, I think that's a good thing. It's going to be easy. Yeah. The issue number, let me check, is very quickly. This was not in the agenda, but Alok dropped me a note to bring the topic. Is the last issue opened in the community repo? Is the issue 742? I'll share it in Zoom. Yeah, if someone has the time to join the discussion and provide feedback or just thumbs ups, will help a lot. And let me check if we have something else in the agenda added in the last minutes. Yeah, we don't have more topics, but we still have some additional minutes. So if any of you like to share something, this is the time.
So I just had a question. So the proposal for the community meeting, is that in addition to this meeting to branch out, or is this dissolving this schedule and then having different times? Is that correct?
This is a good question. Thank you, Miguel. So this meeting is going to stay as it is. This is the meeting that we use to discuss the block items or spec or what we have been doing to discuss the roadmap and issues and so on. What we try to expose is the office hours session. The office hours session is monthly. This one is weekly. The current office hours, the monthly office hours, is more. Is covering all the time zones is impossible, right? So we have a time zone that works for most of people in Americas and people in Europe, let's say. But in Americas, they will wake up early, right? And when I tried to suggest having a new meeting just for community, this is a off-topic thing, we ended up discussing this, why not improving the time zones that we cover with the office hours. So, and this is the goal, like keep this one, the working meetings on Mondays with the existing time zone, change the office hours, the monthly office hours to use these two different time zones approaches bi-monthly. So one Americas and Europe, another one Asia and Americas. And this is what I received positive feedback. I say what I'm going to change for the next month.
Cool. All right. Sounds promising.
The office hours, I think that we need to, I need to make a better job promoting it. Basically, is a session when people just join and with a problem to be solved, or a company exploring to adopt JSON schema. So it's a meeting without agenda, and Ben is the one that usually is leading that session, and it's like a free of cost expert consultancy session, let's say. Juan usually joins that session too, and it's like very insightful sometimes. So yeah, it's not like a crowded session, but a high value session, let's say. And I think we need to keep it because we learn a lot, and I think the people that joins realize about the value of JSON schema and the support that we provide, right?
Yep. Oh, cool. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, that was one of my other questions, like who moderates it, but okay, it's Ben and other folks. Okay.
In America, in the Asia and America ones, we will need to check who is up to lead it. Greg shares his interest, but I think that we can. I mean, it's not a leading thing. It's like make sure that we have an expert in the room to help whoever joins. It's not a leading. It's not a leading thing. It's make sure that somebody's going to be there to provide good answers.
Right. Right.
And we can, if we have people interested in this, we can like create an agenda or something. But initially, let's just start doing it. Let's see who joins and yeah, and what feedback we get. You
Cool.
can
Thank you.
improve and adapt.
Thanks.
Cool. I think we are done for today. Any other comment or joke or are we okay to close for today and continue discussion in Slack and GitHub? Cool. Thanks for joining and for coming back, Miguel. We missed you a lot.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah.
Have you been busy? Have you been busy launching the workflow specification or something?
No, but basically trying to, I wish, but basically trying to ramp up with more things that are happening within Postman, right? And then, I mean, a lot in that space. And of course, OpenAPI 3 and
Yeah.
Moonwalk and those spaces. And so I'm just here listening to see, okay, what are these good people doing that we can go bring back and forth and whatnot. You know, there's lessons here that need to be learned that we learned over there, but bring back and forth. So that's always good. And I'm always interested to hear what you guys have to say. So
yeah,
that's always great.
For your information, we just launched an ambassador program and we are open to applications. So a technical and influential content creator like you, Miguel, maybe you will find that program interesting for you. Just think about that.
Sure. I just have to ramp up my, beef up my JSON schema skills, you know?
Okay. Yeah,
Thank
probably
you.
so. Some people will be getting messages from my site inviting them to take a look to the program. So yeah, some of the people that I have in the radar is in this room, but others. So yeah, you will get some messages from my site, some of you during the week. So thank you. And see you in Slack and GitHub, folks. Thank you for connecting. Take care.
Take care, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
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 Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.